Shalom, shalom, shalom. As always, I want to give all the praises and the glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who are leading this word in truth and in spirit and in sincerity. And salutations to my fellow Hebrew Israelite brothers out there that have been edified by the truth of the scriptures of who we are, the true children of Israel, and of who the other nations are. As the Lord said, Yahweh Shai, the name of Yahweh Shai is what? We should be occupied in prophecy. So we're going to talk about a couple of things today. We're going to talk about the lost tribes of Israel and the promised land. We're going to read this book I've been reading. It's called, this is the book here, so you can see, it's called Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. Lost Tribes and Promised Lands by Ronald Saunders. This is the author of the book, Ronald Saunders. He wrote this book in 1978 based on information from books that he was researching that goes back to the 17th century. Now, before I even start that book here, I want to read Isaiah chapter 2. I'm going to read extracts from that book. But first, I just want to read Isaiah. So Isaiah chapter 2, I'm thinking of. Isaiah, hold on. One second. Feels like it's Isaiah chapter 2. I'm saying Isaiah chapter 2 here. Isaiah chapter 12. That's what I'm thinking of. So I'll quickly read Isaiah chapter 12 before we start reading these extracts from this book. All right? This is Isaiah chapter 12, verse 1. There's only 6 verses. It says here, "And in that day thou shalt say, O Lord, Yahweh, I will praise thee. Though thou wast angry with me, thine anger is turned away, and thou comfortest me. Behold, Yahweh is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid, for Yahweh is my strength and my song. He also is become my salvation. Therefore with joy shall you draw water out of the wells of salvation. And in that day shall you say, praise the Lord Yahweh. Call upon his name. Declare his doings amongst the people. Make mention that his name is exalted. Sing unto Yahweh, for he has done excellent things. This is known in all the earth. Cry out and shout, thou inhabitant of Zion, for great is the Holy One of Israel in the midst of thee." Well, praises to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. So when we call on the name, we call on Yahweh, and we call on the Son's name, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is the Father's name. Yahweh Shai is the Son's name. All right? So I just wanted to start with that, because that's very pertinent to what we're going to read from this book here. When it says, call on the name, call on the name. In that day shall you praise the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. Call upon his name, declare he's doing amongst the people, make mention that his name is exalted. So, this is the book here that I'm reading out of, right? Hold on. Like I said, I just want to bring this up here. Leave that here before we go to here. Right, so This is the book we're reading out of, Lost Tribes in the Promised Lands, Ronald Saunders. All right. Now, we're going to go to page 370. Hold on. Page 363. It's titled here, A Lost Tribe. You see that? Discovered in New York. All right? That's the title. Page 363. Now, listen carefully. I'm going to read a little bit out of this book here. I'm going to bring out some scriptures, but I just need to read this. What was said here? It says, in September 1644, a Portuguese Moreno, and the Morenos were, as the Moors were called Morenos as well, right? Because Moreno goes back to the Spanish word which means, black, right? That's where the word Moor comes from, Moreno. It just means black, all right? So these were talking about the Israelites that called themselves, or that were called Moors by the Spanish and the Portuguese during the times of the conquest, when they ruled all of Spain and southern France and southern Europe, literally all of southern Europe, southern France, Sicily, parts of northern Italy and mainland Italy. So it says here, in September 1644, a Portuguese Moreno named Antonio de Montezino arrived in Amsterdam after he lived for some years in South America, and proceeded to tell the leaders of the recently established it says here, 2.5 years before he told them. 2.5 years before he told them, while traveling in the wild mountains of Quinto, he had heard some of his Indian guides remark that the natives of that country deserved all the suffering they had undergone at the hands of the Spaniards. When he asked them to explain why they thought such a thing, they had replied mysteriously that it was because we so badly treated a holy people, the greatest in the world. So this is what he was told, that these natives were a holy people who were treated so badly by the Spaniards and the Portuguese, but it was a judgment that was going to come upon them. They knew this was going to happen to them, the natives. This is the story that Montezino is telling. He says here, upon his return to Cartagena, the Judaizing Montezino, because Montezino was a practicing Jew, just so you understand, the Judaizing Montezino had found himself accused by the Inquisition and put in prison. Praying for salvation in his cell one day, he was reciting what was by then a standard formula. It says, what was by then a standard formula amongst the New World Morenos. Blessed be the name of the Lord, who has made me an idolater, a barbarian, a Negro, who has not made me an idolater, When suddenly he stopped. It says, those Indians, he told himself, they are Hebrews. Pondering this thought incredulously, and yet with growing conviction, he resolved that if he ever was released, he would seek out the Indian Francisco and try to learn the truth. So this is what Montezino did. He seeked out this Indian called Francisco. So anyway, so this is here, Montezino's story. Unclear as to the circumstances of his incarceration, is equally unclear to those of his release. But released he was, and he immediately went to Francisco, the Indian, revealing himself as a Jew. Like I said, Montezino was a practicing Jew. He was a Hebrew, right? But was living as a so-called Christian, right? When he was in Spain, but he's in South America now, right? He's been released from prison. He's gone and seeked out this Indian called Francisco. So, revealing himself as a Jew, Montezino proclaimed his conviction that Francisco's hidden people were of the same race as he. So he believed that these hidden people that he heard about in South America were of the same background, same people as he was, a Jew. He believed that's who they were, Montezino. So it says here, would Francisco lead him to them? So it says here, we're going to jump down. It says here, waving a banner high in the air, the Indian guide soon, I jumped a verse. It says, the two men were soon back in the rugged mountains in which Francisco had made his initial revelation, marching relentlessly for a week before they finally came to a halt. It was a Saturday. Montezino makes a point of telling us that they had come to a river larger than the Duero. Are there echoes of the Sambaton in all of this? Here, Francisco announced, is where your brothers will be seen. So Francisco saying to Montezino, we're going to come across your brothers, all right? Because the news, the revelations that Montezino heard about these Native American Indian tribes that were living in South America is that they had Hebrew customs. But listen why, listen on. It says here, waving a banner high in the air, the Indian guide, Francisco, soon was greeted by a puff of smoke far beyond the other bank of the river. In response to his signal, the two men waited. Eventually, a canoe appeared, bearing three men and a woman, all of them Indians, to the place where Francisco and Montezino were standing at the water's edge. The woman got off and spoke to Francisco in an Indian tongue that Montezino could not understand, although he could perceive that he was being identified in the conversation. She then turned to her male companions to explain the situation. Upon hearing her words, they rose and went over to Montezino and, to his astonishment, said, Shema Yezerel Adoni Elohim, Adoni Ehud, which translates to, which is broken Hebrew they were speaking, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power, the Lord is one. This is what the Native American Indians, the three men and the woman, said to Montezino when the Indian guide Francisco told them that Montezino was a Jew. So they knew that who they were. They knew that they were Hebrew Israelites. They knew that they were Jews, these Indian tribes. I say again, they said to him, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power, Yahweh, is one. They had recited in Hebrew the fundamental credo of Judaism. So how would they know to be able to recite that? From the book of Deuteronomy, you'd have to go to the book of Deuteronomy. Hold on. So that's what the Native American Indians said to him. Okay. 1 second. So this is the book I'm reading. What they said to him is there, as you can see. Hold on. Hope you can see it. If I can bring it up a little bit bigger. Bring it over. It says here, upon hearing her words, they rose and went over to Montezino, and to his utter astonishment said, Shema Israel, which is broken Hebrew they're speaking here, Adana Elohim Adona Ehud, which is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord Yahweh, our power, Yahweh is one. They had recited in Hebrew the fundamental credo of Judaism. This is what they said, right? And then, as you read further down there, I'm going to read this out. I just wanted to see it on the screen. It says here, a brief conversation then ensued. A brief conversation then ensued in their common ancestral tongue, according to Montezino, whose fluency in it is almost as perplexing to the reader of his narrative as is that of these three mysterious new companions. This is what they told him. They told him, I'm reading this part here, all right? I'm leaving it up on the screen. I'm going to read it directly from the book. I'm reading what's highlighted in green down to the bottom, all right? Just so you can see. This is where I'm reading here. So it says here, they told him that they were themselves of the tribe of Reuben, and that the tribe of Joseph lived on the islands nearby. I'm sure you've seen the 12 tribes charts, and we show you that the tribe of Joseph is what? Ephraim and Manasseh. Ephraim are who? The Portuguese, not the Portuguese, sorry, the Puerto Ricans, so lucky. Manasseh are the Cubans, the so-called Cubans. Ephraim and Manasseh are Joseph's two sons. They consider the two, they refer to them as the two half tribes, all right? They, in the 12 tribes of Israel, they replaced their father Joseph. So they don't really speak about the tribe of Joseph, but Joseph's two sons replaced him. So Ephraim and Manasseh are Joseph's. So this is what they told him. They told him that they were themselves of the tribe of Reuben, and the tribe of Joseph lived on the islands nearby. See? Tribe of Joseph lived on the islands nearby. The day when they were at last to issue forth into the world, this is what they said to him. Listen carefully, all right? The day, we're down here now, right? But this is the only part of the book I'll get up onto the screen. The day when they were at last to issue forth into the world was coming soon, they explained. But in the meantime, they could not allow visitors to cross over to them. So they said to Montesino that the day is coming that the whole world is going to know who we are. The whole world is going to know who we are. This is what they said to Montesino. They said they were willing to make an exception in the near future. However, an account of their need for education, for though they spoke Hebrew, yeah, for though they spoke Hebrew, just so you can see, we've always told you this, right? For though they spoke Hebrew, they could not read or write. Would Montesino then send them 12 bearded men to be their teachers? He said he would. The four strangers returned to their canoe, paddled back across the river, and disappeared from view. Francisco told Montezuma all he knew about these people from his traditions. His ancestors, to their eternal shame, had indeed made war on them and persecuted them. Only the sorcerers of this tribe had perceived that they were a special people and had given warning that they should be left alone. The God of these children of Israel is the true God. This is what the Indians were saying to him. Listen carefully. You can't see this part on the screen. I'm reading the next page in the book. Page 365. It says, the God of these children of Israel is the true God. They had said, and everything inscribed on their tablets is true. Now you've heard about the lost lunar stone, right? Let me see if I can put it up, right? You've heard about this here, the lost lunar stone. Let me put this up, images. That has in the Hebrew. Let's put it up here. I want to get a good one of it so you can see. There you go. So this is the lost lunar stone, right? This is what they found in New Mexico, right? Let's make this a bit bigger on the screen here so you can see. Many years ago, all right? That has the commandments on it. They call this the lost lunar stone. They call it the mystery stone, but this is what it is, right? It resides in New Mexico. If the land of Israel is the promised land, where is their stone? All right? Now, This is what they had. This is what they found in New Mexico, called the Lost Lunar Stone. So Esau, boy, he's always up in it, but Esau's the one that I believe that made it public. All right, this is it here. These are different pictures of it. They call it the Declo Stone near Lost Lunas, New Mexico. That's why it's called the Lost Lunar Stone. So lucky, 1 second for me. So lucky for that. This is the Lost Lunar Stone. That's a picture of it again here. That's it there in New Mexico. Now, this is what Deuteronomy 2, Deuteronomy 6. So this is what the Native American Indians were saying to, and they could only have known this if they was taught this when they lived in the land of Israel, before they, as we know, the story when they was under the Assyrian captivity under Shalmaneser V, before they left that land. So this is what they were saying, right? Hear, O Israel, Yasharallah, Yahweh, our power is one, Yahweh. This is what they were saying to Montezino, right? Who was a Moreno. So I'm just going to read a little bit more from this. I'm going to pull out some scriptures. It says here, I go back to where we were. So this is the Lost Lunar Stone. And this is the book we're reading from. All right? Lost Tribes and the Promised Lands. So read a little bit more before I pull out some scriptures. It says here, the power of these children of Israel is the true power, they had said. And everything inscribed on the tablets is true. At the end of days, they will be lords. Listen carefully. At the end of days, they will be lords over all the nations of the earth. This is what they told the Montezino, right? The Moreno, the Portuguese Moreno. It says, one nation will come bringing many things to this land. And after we have all been provided for, these children of Israel will go forth from where they now are and reign over the whole earth as they once did. So I say again, they said one nation will come bringing many things to this land. That's what the Europeans did. They came and brought many things to the Americas. Today we know as the United States of America, right? South America, Europeans again, the Spanish and the Portuguese. So they said one nation. What nation is that? Those are the Edomites, Esau. This is what they told Montezino. This is what the Indians said, right? From what they were told from their forefathers. Listen carefully. They said one nation, which were the Edomites, Esau, will come bringing many things to this land, which is what they did to the Americas. And after we have all been provided for, right? Because remember, we were in want of everything from them. Not just us that came from the transatlantic slave trade, also the Native American Indians. They was in want of all things from these people. Deuteronomy 28. It says here, he says, one nation shall come bringing many things to this land, and after we have all been provided for, these children of Israel, they're talking about themselves, will go forth from where they now are and reign over the whole earth as they once did. With this final flourish, Montezino turned his tale of the lost tribe into turned the tales of the lost tribes, right? It says here, the story, it turned the tales of the lost tribe into a bit of propaganda for the Dutch conquest of Brazil at the same time. The story was received with enthusiasm by the Jews of Amsterdam. Above all, Rabbi Manasseh ben Israel, one of the most prominent and representative men amongst them, the Netherlands and its Jews had both come out from under the Iberian yoke towards the end of the last century and had embraced one another in the cause of repudiating it. And now that the Dutch were approaching the end of what was being called their 80 Years' War against Spain in a blaze of triumph, the Israelite community of Amsterdam, which had responded to the most tolerant religious climate in Europe by throwing off its Moreno cover, because that was a cover. They were Morenos, they called themselves Moors, they were practicing Christianity. So he's saying here, after throwing off its Moreno cover in 1596, was emerging as the most brilliant and influential in the world. It says here, Manasseh ben Israel was the son of Moreno parents. So Manasseh ben Israel was also a Moor, a Moreno, a so-called Negro. Manasseh ben Israel was the son of Moreno parents who had lived in Portugal, then Spain, and then in the Madeira Islands, where he had been born in 1604 under the Christian name, because they had to take on the belief of Christianity under the Spanish Inquisition, under the Christian name of Manuel Diaz Sierro. It says here, the former Morenos who established the Amsterdam community had followed a tradition of recent times and invited and learned rabbis from the Israelite community that had never left the fold to be their teachers and religious leaders. So there's a lot more in here. It says here, it says, the idea now being popularized by Manasseh ben Israel that the lost tribes of Israel were to be found in the New World, among other places, and that they were getting ready for their appearance in the imminent final days, was bound to be of particular appeal to an English Puritan, that not only was he reaching a hysterical pitch, but was keenly aware of his own special relationship with the American continent. So he was telling them, Manasseh ben Israel, because they found the lost tribes, the 10 lost tribes of Israel in the Americas and the New World, he was telling them back in Amsterdam, because Manasseh ben Israel, it was Montezino that came, when he came back to Europe, when he came back to Spain and Portugal and Amsterdam, and he met up with Manasseh ben Israel, a rabbi, he told him that he had found the 10 lost tribes of Israel in the New World, what we know today as the Americas. So this is what Manasseh ben Israel says. It says the idea now being popularized by Manasseh ben Israel, right? That the lost tribes were to be found in the New World amongst other places, that they were getting ready for their appearance in this imminent final days, was bound to be a particular appeal to an English Puritan that not only was reaching a hysterical pitch, but was keenly aware of his own special relationship with the American continent. Well, those final days are now. And Montezino came back around 1644, and then he disappeared off of the scene, because it tells you that in the months and years following the appearance of Montezino in 1644 and his disappearance from history, immediately thereafter, Manasseh ben Israel became his story chief enthusiasm. More and more of Manasseh's correspondence and conversations was to be devoted to it and to its eschatological implications. So Manasseh ben Israel took on the mantle from Montezino, because Montezino disappeared from the scene when he came back to Amsterdam around 1644. And when he told Manasseh ben Israel, who he found in the Americas, right, that these are definitely the 10 lost tribes of Israel. So there's a lot more in it to read. It tells you about it, but I'm not going to go through it. I want to bring out some scriptures now. So we say, and we say this, and we say once again, These Edomites know who those people are in the Americas. They're not under any illusion. They're not under any illusion that those people in the Americas, in the New World, are the 10 lost tribes of Israel. Because this book that Ronald Saunders wrote was based on material books that was written about them during the 17th and 16th century, 400 years ago. But now we're in those times where all of this is coming to the forefront. Why? Because the time of the Gentiles is coming to the fulfillment. They thought when these Europeans came on them that Montezino thought, Manasseh ben Israel thought, this was it. We found the 10 lost tribes. The Messiah's coming back. That's what they was thinking back then. But that time is now. We are living in those days now. Why? Because the revealing of who the 12 tribes of Israel are is coming out everywhere. From Carnal West making these statements the other day on TV about the so-called small hat communities, how they control the media, how they're not the real Jews, how they are Shem and that we are also Shemites and that we are the Jews. From your mainstream celebrities going up against the curb, whether they're sincere or not, it's all coming out. But it's truly coming out from the men of Israel, the Hebrew Israelite men that are teaching this word on the highways and hedges. This is where it's truly coming out from, and on the different streaming platforms. So there's no more hiding place for this truth of who the Israelites are, because these Edomites knew that those people in the Americas, the Native American Indians of North, South America, and Canada, were the 10 lost tribes of Israel. As we always say to you, Israel is, because of the diaspora, the slave trade, Israel is mixed and scattered amongst all of the nations. So we always make that clear to you. But they know, because they had the material and the work which they had written. They've got it all, the whole lot, right? They wouldn't have this book. Ronald Saunders would have done all of this research and all of that material if he never knew what he was looking at. So these Edomites know. They know who they are. They know who we are. They know who we are. They know who they are. So I wanted to bring out a couple of scriptures here, because that really kind of, I've been reading that book for some months now, and I've only just got to, and that's in the back end of the book. That's like the last chapter in the book, basically. And I've got to all of that story and that basically in that, So, yeah. And I've just got to that stage. So let me just bring out some scriptures while we're here. That to think that they was reciting this, Hail Yasharallah Yahweh, our power is one, Yahweh. They was reciting that in a broken form of Hebrew to Montezino, who was a Moreno Jew. Who else could they be? Who else could they be? The scripture says in Luke. Luke. I'm trying to go too far. Luke 21. Because this is where we're at. We're at this time now. Just so you understand what's going on. Because the Native American Indians was also, in a sense, referring to this, where they were saying that they had to suffer certain things before they are revealed to the world. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land and wrath upon the people. 70 AD. That was the last, not the last, but one of the great diasporas of the children of Israel. All right? It says here, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword. That's what happened to the Native American Indians. That's what happened to us during the transatlantic slave trade. That's what's still happening to us today. We are still falling by Esau's sword today, which was his blessing. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captives into all nations. Transatlantic slave trade, 70 AD, the Romans took us. 1.5 million Israelites made it to the west coast of Africa. Some of them fled up into Europe. This is why when we tell you that Israel is scattered and mixed amongst the nation, they are. It didn't just happen during the transatlantic slave trade. It happened in 70 AD when Emperor Vespasian and his son, General Titus, took down Jerusalem. Over 1 million Israelites made it into the continent of Africa and settled on the west coast. Some settled in North Africa because we had Israelite communities in Egypt. Alexandria, a city that's named after Alexander the Great, after the Greeks conquered Egypt, had the biggest community of Israelites lived in Alexandria in what we know today as Egypt. Israelites went to the west coast. They said over 1.5 million Israelites went to the west coast of Africa and settled there before these Europeans came upon them in the late 15th century and started to gather them on slave ships to bring them to the Americas to join their fellow Israelites, which were the Native American Indians in the Americas. All of these things happen for a reason, because all of these things happen because we're going to come to the day when the great deliverance of the children of Israel takes place out of Babylon the Great, America. So when it says here, and you shall be led away captive into all nations, the Native American Indians were taken from the Americas and brought on slave ships back to Europe to serve as their slaves in Europe and in the different parts of the empires that these Edomites ruled over. They were taken from the Americas. It says, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. So who's in Jerusalem today? East, you've got Edomites and Ishmaelites. The so-called white man and the so-called Arab man are in Israel today. So Jerusalem is being trodden down by the Gentiles as we speak. The Edomites and the Ishmaelites, the Arabs and the so-called Europeans. They're treading down Jerusalem as we speak, because all these things had to be fulfilled until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So we're in that time. We're in the time of the last part of the fulfilling of the time of the Gentiles. We're in these times now. That's where all of these things are happening around the world. We're in those times now. The times of the Gentiles is being fulfilled. There's only two major prophecies to be fulfilled. The mark of the beast, the microchip, and the war of Armageddon before the great deliverance of the children of Israel from the four corners of the world and Babylon the Great, the United States of America. So what we read earlier, when he said here, Francisco told Montezino all he knew about these people from his own traditions. His ancestors, to their eternal shame, had indeed made war on them and persecuted them. Only the sorcerers of the tribe had perceived that they were a special people. So they were fighting against their own people, different parts of the tribes of the 10 tribes that were living in different parts of the Americas. Not realizing they were fighting against their own brothers. But he said the sorcerers of their people, what you would call like the witch doctors, the priests, or whatever you want to call them, knew that they were a special people. They knew that they were a special people, but they were the same people and had given warning that they should be left alone. The God of these children of Israel is the true God, they had said, and everything inscribed on their tablets is true. At the end of days, which is what we're in now, we're in the end of days now, they will be lords. This is what they was told. This is what the Native American Indians was telling Montezino, the Moreno Jew. This is what the Indians were telling him. They knew their story. They knew how it was going to end. They said, at the end of days, which is the second coming of the Lord, they will be lords over all nations of the earth. Everything that we've been telling you. So the Native American Indians was telling Montezino, who was a Jew, a Moreno, a so-called Negro, when he was brought to them by Francisco, another Indian, they knew their own story. So they was telling him, At the end of days, they will be lords over all the earth, over all the nations of the earth. One nation will come, bringing many things to this land, which is what Esau did. The Edomites, they brought many things to the Americas. That's why America is known as the Golden City, the Great City. And after we have all been provided for, these children of Israel, the Native American Indians, will go forth from where they now are and reign over the whole earth as they once did. So they knew they were going to reign over the whole world again. They must. So how would they know that? Because they must have had the book of the laws with them. They must have had the book of Deuteronomy, Exodus, Genesis, Leviticus. They must have had the 5 books, Numbers, with them. They must have had the book of the laws, the Torah, with them for them to know this was going to take place. And whether that got lost over time and it became everything was done orally, because remember he said, Montezuma said they could not read or write, but they spoke Hebrew. So these were these stories were being kept and being told to them generation after generation after generation, that the time is coming that the whole world is going to know who we are. But first, a set of people have to come to this land that we're in today, the Americas, and they're going to create, just like what he said. He said, one nation will come bringing many things to this land, and after we have all been provided for, the children of Israel will go forth from where they now are and reign over the whole earth as they once did. So this says, so what we are telling you today, the Native American Indians was telling Montezino, a Moreno Jew, who found his own brothers, because he knew that he obviously he's a race Jew. He knows about the 10 lost tribes. He knows about the captivity under Shalmaneser V. He knows about them never coming back to the promised land. Now, we've always told you that there were some of the northern kingdom still mixed amongst the southern kingdom, still living amongst them. Not everyone from the northern kingdom went into captivity under the Assyrian king. And not every one of them took that journey to the Americas, but the majority of them did. Some of them were still living amongst the southern kingdom. Some of the northern kingdom were still living amongst Judah, Benjamin, and Levi during the captivity under the Assyrian king, when the kingdom broke up into 2 after Solomon died. When Jeroboam became the king of the northern kingdom, Rehoboam became the king of the southern kingdom of Israel. Some of the northern kingdom tribes were living amongst the southern kingdom. So the time of the Gentiles is being fulfilled. And all of this is coming out for a reason. Everything is like, you see, it's like what Ezra says here. Ezra says, Second Ezra chapter 6. Hold on. Verse. It says here, for evil shall be put out and deceit shall be quenched. And that's what we are doing. See, when we're teaching this word and bringing out this truth, we're quenching deceit. We're destroying the deceit that's been brought across the whole world. As for faith, it shall flourish. And the only people that are going to, their faith is going to be lifted up in this are the elect. Those of you that truly believe what's been taught here, what's been taught by my fellow Hebrew Israelite brothers that are teaching this word in the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. That are teaching in the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome. And the truth, because all what we teach is about the truth. Mainstream media, the haters want to make this about color. We always tell you this is about truth. Truth. Just like what Yahweh Shai said, the truth shall set you free. This is all about truth. And the truth, which has been so long without fruit, shall be declared. This is what we are doing today. We're declaring the truth to you once more again, letting you know that these Edomites knew that the Native American Indians were the lost 10 tribes of Israel. They spoke Hebrew. They had all Hebrew customs. They knew, and they know, and they continue to know today But yet they have a set of people in the land of Israel from Eastern Europe, Eastern Europeans who are Edomites, and they're trying to declare to the world that these are the Jews of the Bible. They are not the Jews of the Bible, because the real Jews of the Bible, the Israelites, were a people of nation of color, so-called Negroes, so-called Puerto Ricans, so-called Native American Indians. They were a people and nation of color. They were not Caucasians. But this is what they're trying to project to you. Now we know through the diaspora, through the scattering, that Israel is mixed amongst other nations today. Some Israelites will be Caucasian, looking Caucasian. Some will look East Indian. Some will look Chinese, Japanese. Some will look like Arabs. Some will look like Hamites, Africans, like proper Africans, like, like the Kenyans. Some will look like these other nations because we were scattered and mixed amongst the nations. But those so-called Jews in the land of Israel that call themselves Israelis are not the children of Israel and never will be. Now, are there some Israelites mixed amongst them? Well, absolutely, because we are scattered and mixed amongst the nations. But as a whole, they are not the children of Israel. There will be some Israelites mixed amongst those small hats in Israel that call themselves Israelis, but they are not the children of Israel. We just have some true Israelites, Hebrew Israelites, that are mixed amongst them, that look like these small hats. But as a whole, that nation in the land of Israel, they are Europeans, Edomites. That's who they are. So the truth that has so long been without fruit shall be declared. This is what we are declaring, is the truth. The scripture says you shall know the truth, is it John 8:32, and the truth shall set you free. Hold on. I think it's John 8. John 8:32. Oh, so yeah, John 8:32. And you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And this is what we are doing. All we are doing is establishing the truth with the true children of Israel. We pray that this lifts up your spirit, that you know that our ancestors, the Native American Indians, they knew this when they came up, when these Europeans came across them in the Americas. They knew who they were, but these devils stripped away their identity and called them Native American Indians and named their countries after themselves: Peru, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, America, Canada, Mexico, Venezuela, and said that you belong to those nations. They stripped them of their identity. But the Native American Indian, what did he say? He said that in the last days, the world is going to know who we truly are. We're gonna make ourselves known to the world. This is what he said to Montezino. This is what the Native American Indians in South America said to Montezino. In the last days, we're going to reveal ourselves to the world. And this is what we are doing. We're revealing who the true Hebrew Israelites are to the world, who the lost tribes are, who all the 12 tribes are. This is exactly what we are doing. And this is why we are hated. This is why we're hated. So let's grab some water. Yeah, these devils know, man. Couple more scriptures, man. Couple more scriptures. I want to go to, is it Zephaniah? Zephaniah. Yeah, these devils know. And they've always known. They just didn't want you to know what's coming. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse, start down here. Shalom to the Akiyams on the comment board. All praises and glory to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. This is beautiful. I'm probably just going to finish it here. I just need to get that out, boy. Israel's lost tribes and promised land. Because we're going to go, the Lord is getting ready to come for us. We just got to be ready. We got to be ready. We got to be on our A game. Because the Lord is getting ready. And we're going to finish here. Zephaniah 3 and 14. Sing, O daughter of Zion. Talking about the 12 tribes. This is a poetic way of the Lord talking about the 12 tribes of Israel. Sing, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O Israel. Yasharallah. Be glad and rejoice with all thy heart, O daughters of Jerusalem. Another poetic way of speaking about the children of Israel, the 12 tribes, daughter of Jerusalem. It says, the Lord Yahweh has taken away thy judgments. This is what the Indians were saying to Montezino, that they had to go through certain judgment, waiting for the Lord to take away their judgments. He has cast out thine enemy, the King of Israel, even the Lord Yahweh is in the midst of thee. So they always knew that Yahweh was in the midst of them. What did they say? What did they recite to him? This is what they recited to him. I mean, seriously. Upon hearing her words, they rose and went over to Montezino. The 3 Native American Indians and the woman went over to Montezino, and to his utter astonishment, to Montezino, who was a Moreno Jew, to his utter astonishment, they said, Shema, Yezerel, Adonai, Elohim, Adoni, Ehod. I'm just reading it as I'm seeing it here, all right? This is a broken form of Hebrew, kind of what the small hat speaking. And this is what they said to him in English. Hear, O Israel, the Lord, Yahweh, our power. Yahweh is one. These are the Native American Indians, had recited in Hebrew the fundamental credo of Judaism, which is Israelitism, really. That's what they did. And they also told him that they were themselves of the tribe of Reuben and of the tribe of Joseph, lived on the islands nearby. What islands were those? Puerto Rico and Cuba. Because that's where Joseph went, Manasseh and Ephraim. All praises to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So it says here, the King of Israel, even Yahweh, is in the midst of thee. So they always knew that Yahweh, it wasn't the Most High was in the midst of them. That's why they called on his name. Thou shalt not see evil anymore. This is where we're heading to. This is the end game. We're not going to see evil anymore. We're heading to the end game. Last 2 prophecies to be fulfilled. Last 2 prophecies, family. And we know what they are. The mark of the beast and the war of Armageddon. In that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, the 12 tribes, fear thou not, and to Zion, let not thine hands be slack. Listen carefully. The Lord Yahweh thy power is in the midst of thee. The Lord, I'm getting excited, man. Yahweh thy power in the midst of thee is mighty. They knew that. The Native American Indians knew that. He will save. He will rejoice over thee with joy. So they knew that Yahweh was coming to save them. And he's going to rejoice over them. But they knew that it wasn't the time yet. He will rest in his love. He will joy over thee with singing. I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. The Lord is getting ready to gather us. You better get yourselves ready for Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee. All that this devil, these Edomites have done to us, and these other nations. He says, behold, at that time, and we're getting, listen, the fingers on the button for that time. I will undo all that afflict thee, Israel, and I will save her that was halted, and gather her that was driven out. Where were they? All the way in the Americas. We're here in Europe and England. Some of you are still in the Americas and the West Indies. Some of us are in Japan, China. Some of us are in Russia. Some of us are spread across Europe, Italy, the Middle East. The Lord said he's going to gather us that was driven out. Driven out from where? From the promised land. And I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. Because we are considered the lowest of low. Everybody wants what we got, but no one wants to be us. And that starts from the tribe of Judah, the head tribe. The Lord said, I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. Praises to Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. And at that time, will I bring you again, Israel. Only the Lord can do this. Even in the time that I gather you. Why? For I will make you a name and a praise amongst all the people of the earth. What did praise the Yahweh, what did the Native American Indians say to Montezino, the Moreno Jew? They said, the God of these children of Israel is the true God. They had said, and everything inscribed on their tablets is true. At the end of days, this is what the Native American Indians were saying to Montezino, the Moreno. He said, at the end of days, they will be lords over all the nations of the earth. One nation will come bringing many things to this land, which is what the Edomites did. They built up the Americas, North America, and South America, and Canada. That's what Esau did. And after we have all been provided for, after they've had us in captivity in their hands, these children of Israel will go forth from where they now are and reign over the whole earth as they once did. So it says here, at that time, so they knew about it 400 years ago. Over 400 years ago, they knew about it. They didn't forget who they were. It was Esau that come and removed all remembrance of who they were from them, to assimilate them into their society, to make them become Edomites. They murdered them, they raped, they killed, they stole their land, and they stole their identity, and they assimilated them so they could become just like the white man. But the Lord says this, at that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you, for I will make you a name and a praise amongst all the people of the earth when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, says Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushai. I say no more. As you can see, this is where we're reading from, this book here. That was just the next page on this book, which you won't have up on the screen. But this is where we're reading from. Lost tribes and promised lands. I want to give all the praises and the glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash. I pray you are edified by today's edification. If you're able to get this book, buy it. You can get it on Amazon before they take it off the list. Go to the last chapter, page 363, called The Lost Tribe Discovered in the Americas. That's the last chapter in the book. So, Kal Halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, as always, of Great Millstone, my elders, who have been leading this word, this charge in truth and in spirit and sincerity. And salutations to my fellow Hebrew Israelite brothers, and for you few sisters out there that have been truly edified by the truth. As I always say, hold on to what you got. Keep praying, keep safe, and hold on to what we got. But this is all we got. Our brothers knew this. They knew who they were. Don't let this devil dissuade you. We're too close to the finish line. Shalom, 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 family. All praises. Truly pray that you are edified and lifted up in your spirit by today's edification. All praises.